Dive into the dynamic world of entrepreneurship, innovation, and business with Caplander, hosted by Jody and Morgan of J. Thielander Consulting. Whether you're invested in the private capital markets, building your own venture, or curious about the entrepreneurial spirit, this podcast unpacks the latest trends, insights, and opportunities shaping today's market and the people driving what's next. Caplander connects the dots between personal and professional life because how you do anything is how you do everything. Featuring expert guests, deep discussions, and a dynamic mother-daughter duo, Caplander is your go-to resource for staying informed and inspired. Hi, Jody.
Hi, Morgan. How's it upstairs?
It's a little bit warmer than it is downstairs, but not by much.
So as I sit I'm in your dining room actually, and you're upstairs in the office.
Correct.
And
I'm
I'm
making me think I need curtains down there because it could be on the side, but then it's a lot of curtains in one area.
I think you've got enough on your plate with the baby coming and to figure out how to juggle your house that I would
Right.
probably not be thinking about other ways, to spend your money or your time. As you say to me, sometimes you should open the garage and park that car and lock the door and leave the keys, and that's the end of it.
No, I told you that was my visualization tactic for when something was weighing on my mind and it no longer served me.
Okay, so tell me. So, because me, I have a hard time because I'm like a holistic thinker. As we say, how I do anything is how I do everything, which also is the bane of my existence because it wreaks havoc because I don't do well always dropping something.
No, I'm a big fan of because what they say is I can really rock the worry chair and I can swing myself front to back. But the problem with rocking a worry chair is that you don't go anywhere and it doesn't actually accomplish anything. So when I feel myself getting into the rocking, when I sit down into the chair, I think to myself, okay, I'm going to give myself 5 minutes or 4 minutes or however long, and I can ruminate on this. And then after that time is up, I close my eyes and I envision myself gathering all my worries, concerns, feelings, whatever it is on that topic. And I think I'm stuffing them in a bag and I'm putting them in the car or in a car, and I close the trunk and I lock it and I visualize myself leaving the car in the garage and I walk away. And I'm that's being left behind. It doesn't serve me anymore. And I'm better to take my energy and put it focus on what is working for me and what is going well versus what's not.
I mean, I love that. I give you so much credit because you've always been a little bit of an old soul, and this wisdom that you have and your ability to discipline your mind and your intention is something that I have a lot of respect for and that I'm learning from, which sort of brings us to the topic for today is that I've always been a big believer that you should talk to everybody. And some of the small conversations you have with people, even strangers, can be very impactful and meaningful. And they can also be great ways to network because you just don't know what someone has to say and how that may trigger your mind, or it may be an opportunity waiting to happen.
Right. Well, I've heard about it sometimes where I like to drink a yappuccino because I have a lot to say. Which I think I saw on social media. I don't even think I got that. But somebody was like, I didn't order a yappuccino. And they were like, oh, yes, you did because it's here. And that
I
really,
heard one the other day in a movie where he says, oh, I like that. Let's double click on that. I want to hear more. So those are our yappuccino, and let's double click on that.
So we're double clicking on Troy Alexander, and Troy Alexander rebuilt his life from a prison cell through confrontation with himself. And now he is the founder of T363 Skin, which is the first AI native Wellcare intelligence platform for men. Hello and welcome, Troy, to the Caplander podcast. We're so excited to have you with us.
I am very happy to be here as well. Thank you.
Are you sitting in the middle of Manhattan, or where are you?
I am in Charlotte.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I'm in the Admirals Club.
Got it. Where you're heading to or from?
I'm heading from.
I think you're the first person who's joined us on the podcast from an airport lounge.
But look at my lighting.
It's a good lighting.
Good. I think actually we had one person who did it, but he put in his background. I think Jim Jensen did it, and he was in London or something. We've had people do it from the car with their safety belts on. And we've had people eating snacks and stuff. That's sort of fun.
My personal favorite is when somebody eats on the phone because Jody and I will be talking during the day for work, and if I have, God forbid, taken a bite of yogurt or something before
I
and
hate
she
the
hears
noise.
the munch, she's like, "Do you have to eat while I'm on the phone with you?" And I'm like, "Well, you're calling me during my lunch break, so technically, like, yes, I am entitled to this part."
I was once
So
sipping champagne, which will be no surprise to you, Troy, on a webinar on a Zoom, not a webinar, on a Zoom. And then I kept like turning the camera on and off. And then I accidentally, of course, like 5 sips in, forgot that I needed to turn the camera on and off. And there I was. And Morgan texted me. She's like, "Are you just straight up drinking champagne on this
I
call?"
actually was like "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is so inappropriate." Could you imagine if, like, I drank something like I was like, "Could you" it's such a this is where it's a double
Double
standard
standard.
because right, because Jody gets away with so much more than I, could possibly because as she says,
Troy knows
"I'm the
this. He's been
boss."
with me.
The lines
Troy knows this.
I'm gonna start a lottery card, and it's gonna be, "I'm the boss, and I don't work for you," and every week that I hear that, I'm gonna get
Bingo
a
card.
$100 bonus because it cha-ching. That's gonna be it.
That is funny. I love this connection between you two. This is fucking amazing.
We have that kind of connection, Troy. So you and I met, let's back this up how we got here. We
Yes,
met at Pastis in Miami because you and I have that kindred spirit of like how you do anything is how you do everything.
correct.
And I was coming out of the bathroom and you were sitting at the bar and I saw
Hmm.
that shiny white smile of yours. And of course, I was dressed in something that it showed I made an effort, whether you people like it or not. I definitely make an effort. And that's it. We were like, okay, we look like we should know each other.
Yeah, I know. It was just amazing, Morgan, meeting Jody. Just her energy, her swag. She was like the coolest, most beautiful thing in the restaurant. And, I went up to her and was chatting with her. At the time, I was with the girl I was seeing at the time. And, we just connected with this woman. And your mom she's an epic woman. Like her energy and her zest for life. I am forever grateful that she entered my life.
Well,
I
let's
think those things happen for a reason, and
I
it's
do
true. I
too.
mean, we talk about this a lot because Jody is it's really one of there's no in between. You love Jody or you're like, "Get the fuck away from me," because
No,
it's like it's
you're
too much.
scared of me or
Right.
you find me
Scary
hostile or
Spice.
too much.
Right.
Yeah.
We talked about this in our podcast that came out yesterday, Scary Spice. It's one way or the other, but I think that really is a true testament to the type of person you are, which leads us into our next question because you're not scared of Jody at all. And part of that, I
No.
think, has a lot to do with how you got to where you are and who you are. So, for somebody who has no idea who Troy Alexander is, can you fill us in?
Yes. Well, I used to be a fashion journalist. I wrote for Forbes, Forbes Life, New York Times, all about luxury lifestyle for men. Had the opportunity to interview some really incredible CEOs. I have spent time at many fashion shows from London, Paris, Milan, New York, Florence with Pitti Uomo, interviewed Tom Ford, just done a lot of extraordinary things. Did a lot of consulting for some luxury brands from their multicultural angle, Bentley, Range Rover. Simrise was my latest opportunity, and Simrise was or is the second largest flavors and fragrance house in the world.
Okay.
And so I was their model for 2 years, and I also was their digital face. And so that was really cool. And I sat on their advisory council for 2 years, really kind of like the intersection of men's grooming, men's beauty, and fashion. And so that was like a aha moment of where I led to my next forte. I'm building an AI native well care intelligence platform for men, and it's called T363 Skin. And that's what I do.
Okay, but there's a story behind this, which, we have to
Yes.
mention it, Troy. Like,
Yes, of
it's
course.
part
So
of your
there's
swag is that your T3s, your
Yes,
number.
I was getting to that, but I didn't
Okay,
want to.
good. Come
I
on,
didn't
we
want
want
to.
to hear it.
I didn't want to take all the microphone, Jody. I was. I didn't want to just be talking. No. So the impetus behind T363 Skin is T is the first initial of my name, and 363 is the last three of my prison number. So when I was 19, 20, I got in a fight in college and changed the whole trajectory of my life. I didn't grow up in any impoverished neighborhood at all. My dad was a big official in the government and my mom was a dietitian, but I brought this onto myself with a fight. And that became my Harvard, Princeton, Yale, because it just really made me understand people very quickly. When you're in that kind of situation, you have to learn how to survive, but also you get a true crash course on energy and confrontation. And so I also studied while I was in there that men are struggling. So that was my first vantage point to understand no matter rich or poor, white or black, Asian, whatever, men are really struggling. And so that was also the impetus behind what we're building, what we're doing, and how I see life.
How long were you incarcerated for?
2 years.
Yeah. So that really
Yeah,
was like your entire Ivy League education put into quite literally a crash course. I mean,
exactly.
obviously, so when you were in the fashion world, that came after you got out, is that
Correct.
correct?
Correct. Yeah. So after I got out, I was on indefinite probation for a while and, obviously got off of that by, doing all of the right things that you have to do to get off of that and paying back the restitution and just really understanding about the penal system, right? And just again, I don't make no excuses. I put myself there. I had every privilege in the world to not go there, and so I'm not going to make it about anything other than that.
But when you
But
were in prison, were you scared ever?
yes, absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. So it's a difference between county and then prison, right? So when you go to prison, that thing that they say about fresh meat and you walking down the 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 walkway and the men on the tiers are screaming, fresh meat, we're gonna fuck you, we're gonna get you. Like that's really intimidating. It's real. It's really real.
I can imagine. I'm scared when, like, the girl at somewhere is upset around, I'm like, I get it. But then when you got out, okay, so then you figured out the system. Like you're like, listen, I'm gonna have to rely on myself. You had probably a pep talk with yourself or a call to conscience through all of this.
Yeah, I think, I there was a lot of angels in that situation that really helped me
I love
through.
this.
I remember when I was there was an orderly that used to always walk by and just bring my meals and stuff like that. Because when I initially was in there, I was in solitary confinement because my hand was damaged so badly. So I was basically like by myself every day. And so that was very jarring. And, it plays on your mind when you're like confined and you have to sit with yourself forever and ever. And
Yeah.
so this gentleman used to always walk by and just inspire me and talk to me and just encourage me that you can make through this, you can get through it. It's one day at a time, one day at a time. So that was really good. And then there was a correctional officer that will always say to me, you don't belong here and God has a bigger purpose for you, right? So that was like I know it sounds strange to people, like you're incarcerated, but if you walk with energy, you walk with light, light finds you no matter where you are in the middle of darkness. And they found me and they poured into me. So I think that really helped tremendously. But also, I journaled every single day and I still have all of my journals from that time. And I think reading, the dictionary and doing all these things really saved me.
Yeah, it was a part of your journey, but it wasn't your final destination. I mean, my mom has always said this, right? Nobody goes unscathed. It's
Correct.
just what you do with the challenges that come your way. And I really like how you talk about the energy piece and being able to approach something and being very eyes up. Like in our rooms growing up, and now I'm almost done with my to be baby girl's room. And I had a sun mirror in my room growing up. And I have a lotus necklace that my mom gave me when I went to college. And it was always with the idea that you had to be eyes up. You couldn't
Hmm.
be looking down at the ground with the flashlight. You had to really focus on, even if it was hard or even if there was a challenge that was going on, that you had to look forward. And that sounds like really where you took the bull by the horns and you were not going to be defined by, I don't want to say a mistake, but maybe a lack of judgment or what you had
Judgment.
had
Yeah.
from being young. And that you were like, no, this is not it for me. And that you were
Yeah.
able to take that and move on.
Yeah. Yeah. You summarized it very well.
Yeah.
And then how was it to get a job after all this? I mean, it's hard enough in any environment to get a job. And you talked about being black
Yeah.
and like I don't and now I want to fast forward also into
Yeah. Of
fundraising. Like
course.
You've had a lot of iterations of this, maybe at times where it helped you, maybe at times where it
Yeah.
hurt you. So what's been your experience and where do you stand with that today with the fundraising for your business?
Yeah, I think, it's interesting because, when I first got out, there was like I got just any job just to do anything to pay the restitution. And, there was nothing on uh one of the papers that said, "Have you ever been convicted of this?" And so I got a job and I started picking up trash and, I had to pay the restitution back to this guy. And, from there I just started, making the necessary steps to become better, going back to college, getting my degree and all of that. And so taking the necessary steps, move to New York and, really embrace myself into, changing my life and, you know, getting writing for Forbes, writing for New York Times, doing all those things, right? And I think I wanted to be a beacon of hope and show people that you can overcome anything in this world if you stay focused and you keep believing. I think a lot of people don't believe in themselves,
Yeah, does
because
it ever piss you off when you hear someone whining, like they don't like their work environment or
yes,
you're like,
yes.
get your like, honestly, you wanna know about hardship?
Exactly. And I think, I mean, I think that's what really kind of saved me because, you know, I realized that, everyone makes a mistake. And as to your point, Morgan, where Jody says, no one goes unscathed in this earth, no one. And I think for me, that just kept me going. And then I realized about networking and
Yeah,
realizing that people know people. And then once I started to immerse myself, like the first thing that I did when I first moved to New York, I couldn't afford it, but I joined now it's Equinox, but at the time it was Reebok Sports and Health Club. And
Right.
at that time, that gym membership was like 375 a month.
Crazy.
yeah.
And I
Talk
joined
about
that
networking.
I know. I joined that gym in 2003. And at that gym, everybody was there. I'm talking about CEOs of Disney,
Yeah.
like everybody, hip hop
Who's
stars,
around you.
everybody, Tay Diggs, actors, models, everybody, right? And I got into that network and started forming great networks with a lot of men, CEOs of Moet Hennessy, that fashion world. And I think that was the greatest thing because you got to remember, I came from prison, moved to New York eventually once I got out of all that stuff, and then got into that gym. My whole world opened up.
Yeah, it was like your jumping off point. I do think about
Exactly.
that too, because we have a lot of listeners who are on the earlier side of their careers and they're trying to figure out how to get started, especially because the work world is so different. I think a lot of people now, if you work for a corporation or for a company, they do want you in the office. So you have that networking component. But I think there really is something special about a fitness environment um like an Equinox, like a Reebok gym, because it's if you're disciplined enough to go someplace every day and take that time, I think it is an elite mentality that kind of follows that athlete mentality in general. And those are the people who are CEOs and investors because the amount of discipline it takes to show up and pick up weights and just dedicate time for your mental and physical health. Like it's not it is it's a d it puts you in a different league. And I think there was a study that came out even talking about the biggest sign for women to be executives was whether or not they played team sports. Not necessarily if they went to college for team sports, but how competitive they stayed throughout high school, because those were the women who went on to lead companies because they knew how to play well with others and they competed to win. So, with that, I mean, obviously, you touched on one piece of it, which is the network. So, with that network, how did T363 Skincare come to be, and what has fundraising been like for you as a founder CEO?
Yeah, so T363 just really kind of started. The first iteration of the business was Troy Skincare. And so I used to work for Bobby Brown and, because I worked for Yahoo Beauty at the time too. And I used to just really pick her brain, but also I
Now
met,
she's Jones Road. Now
yeah,
she's
now
had a
she's,
whole
Yeah,
2.0
she's
yeah,
pivoted,
set.
which is so great, right? That's a good lesson here. Yeah, learn
yeah.
but and you've done the same.
Exactly.
You started with one name and that didn't work out. So then you moved
Exactly.
to you're like, great, I'm not gonna be hung up on this. I'm gonna move and keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, the
Mm.
reason why the name change was, I had a trademark issue, and then I had a former business partner that I had to buy her out. And so I really learned early on about that, right? So that was a really tumultuous, difficult time, paying her out, and then the name change. So I had to hire a private investigator to figure this all out. But, the end result was I was in the shower and I was just thinking about names and just kind of like speaking to God. And he said, use your prison number. And that's how it all came about,
Yeah,
and I think, now we're a federally registered trademark, so I'm the first person that has a registered trademark with a prison number, the first one. So
good for
that's
Wow.
you.
a huge milestone, because we just got registered about a month ago. So that's
Okay.
huge. And so to answer your questions about the fundraising, I think, it's been pretty seamless for me. Yes, it's challenging, but it's been pretty seamless because, my first money came from a friend. I believe if you're of service, and really give, opportunities present themselves. So a woman that I know, she's a neuroscientist, and she wanted to start a hair care company, and she's out of St. Louis. And so she would ring me and ask me questions, and I would just give her my network. Okay, here's some manufacturers, here's some packaging people, here's this, here's that. And so I gave her Beyonce, the woman who did the formulations for Beyonce's products, her hair care brand. I gave her that contact, and just started being of service. And so from there, she said, hey, what can I do to help you? I was like, look, I don't really need anything. And she said, well, I would love to introduce you to my mentor. And her mentor was the former CEO and president of Anheuser-Busch. And so I met with him. I flew to St. Louis, met with him. We had dinner, and then he wrote me a check within 3 weeks.
First of all, it's incredible, and it is really true because you are obviously a magnet for what you put out is what you get back, and a true testament to the "how you do anything is how you do everything" piece, because you can't, because of how tight-knit the private markets are, whether you know somebody or they're 2 people removed from you, the word does travel, and it's
Yeah.
not, there aren't that many people at the end of the day who do it well. And I think that's
Yeah.
partly where you mentioned that you have an AI component to your business, which we'll get into a
Yeah.
second. But I
Hmm.
think that is part of it, is that AI is great for certain things, but AI is not great for everything. And that's really where the relationship piece will not be replaced by ChatGPT or Claude. So, how are you using AI with your business? I think it's a pressure point for a lot of founders who are want to make sure that they're relevant, especially when it comes to access to capital, because that's really what's attracting so many venture dollars. So, did you feel like introducing AI was something that was necessary for you to continue fundraising and expanding your business, or were you already headed in that direction?
Well, I think I was really kind of heading that direction, because I got invited to do a lot of work with IBM, and so working their incubator and their hackathon, and so that really kind of started to develop my thinking. And so when you're in CPG and you're just really talking about beauty, you know. There's no real component around it, right? And I think what really made it pop for me is that, T363 Skin is an AI native Wellcare company built on a singular thesis. Our thesis is that skin is the body's most honest organ, and the right entry point for this whole man preventative health. And I think when you think about it from that perspective, no one is doing that, right? So we are developing an app that it scans your skin. It gives you a protocol, as you see on our website, and it really kind of walks you through and helps men see how they're not showing up, number one, for themselves, but most importantly, if you're not showing up for yourself, you're not showing up for your family. And that's the kind of the bullet that we're kind of bridging. Our website kind of shows you what we're doing and how we're thinking about this. And
Yeah.
so
Does it
now
tell
that,
you if you're drinking too much beer?
yeah, it would tell you that you're consuming too much alcohol. So think
You
of
can
us
see it
as
on
the
your skin.
aura of skincare. And so
Right.
when you think about it like this, like, it's your skin shows you everything that's going wrong with your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had this whole conversation with
Correct.
another, you actually have met her, Diana Stobo. We had her on, and then Morgan talked about, and then we had the woman from EO Products on as well. And she, now they have the everywhere skin product lotions, so that you don't have to put a different lotion on your legs versus your arms. Like, it just goes everywhere. And you're
Wow.
really, yeah, I mean, they've been in business for since I think she said 1995. It's a different line. Yours is very targeted towards men, and
Correct.
also that sort of holistic approach to make sure that there's a protocol that's simple, but that's suited specifically for you. Um, in terms of the fundraising, how far do you have to go here in terms of what you need to accomplish?
So we just really kicked off our fundraising seriously June 1st.
And is this
So
considered your Series A, or your first real round?
yeah,
Fast.
our first real round.
Yeah,
Our first real round. We also brought on a VC advisor from L Catterton. So
yeah.
he's going to be a very crucial, integral part in how we look at the fundraising. But yes, we have some money soft circled,
Right.
and we have some really interesting people that want to be on our cap table.
Right. Well, speaking of your cap table, it's a good segue because, of course, Thelander is all things compensation. So, how are you thinking about your compensation as a founder CEO, and then how do you structure it for your company? Do you want everyone to have equity? What are your priorities?
Yeah, I think for me, for our executive team, I want them to have equity. And I think ideally what I would like to do is people who want to really be a part of this to really help this scale and grow to have some points in business, because look, as I said earlier,
Literally, to
people,
have some skin in the game. No pun intended.
exactly.
Everyone needs to have skin in the game.
That's how I want everyone to win. I want everyone to
Yeah.
win. You're betting with me. Let's win together.
Yeah.
And
Right.
Jody, if you want some skin in the game, come on over here, girl.
Yeah, I want to shoot my shot. That's your other thing. We used that in a podcast the other day, but you are a total like shoot that shot every day.
Exactly. Listen, if you don't shoot it, how you listen.
You
I
don't
listen to
know.
this. I listen
Yeah.
to this guy every day, Jim Rohn, and he's now passed on, right? He was a motivational speaker, and he said, "What most people don't do is ask."
Yeah.
Right. We always
Problem.
say this. We talk about that. You don't ask, you don't know. It's like going into a store. Doesn't matter if you can't afford to buy it. Try it on. It's free. Like you gotta aim high.
Exactly. I love you,
That is very
Jody.
true.
I love you,
No.
Jody.
No,
Love you too.
Jody and I were in Paris last November together, and I think I drive from like every single we were in what's Bon Marché, that's where we were. And
Right.
I stood in Bottega Veneta and I was like, I'm gonna think about myself in the position that I want to be in. So I'm like looking at every single bag and I'm holding and I'm like, this is what I'm gonna get when I needed this, or this is what
I
I'm gonna do
love
when I need
that.
that. Like putting it on in the sense of you're like, this is where I'm heading, like this is my direction and this is what I'm putting out there
Yeah.
in the world. And so on the travel note, because obviously you're sitting in an airport lounge, so you're on the move a good amount. Are you a carry-on or are you a checked bag man?
I am a carry-on. I never check a bag. I think people who check bags are losers.
See? I called somebody a fuck nut on the podcast yesterday, and Morgan's like, "You can't do that." I'm
I was
like,
like, you can't do
"Why
that.
not? What am I supposed to say?"
No.
So, yeah,
And
loser.
also, fuck nut, by the way,
Loser.
was my word in the first place. And Jody was like, I kind of like that. And
I
I was
love
like,
fuck
it's a
nut. Well, I
good
like
one.
anything with the word fuck, motherfucker. I like that one, right?
Yeah.
Oh
All right,
my
so then
gosh,
so
Jody,
you're a
you're
carry-on person. Do you have a
Mhm.
matching bag that sits on top of it? Like, are you a set guy? Because obviously, like the airport, like you have a fashion background, so you're not showing up to the airport in like sweatpants. Like you're not looking like you're not put together at all. Do you have a uniform when you travel for work?
Yeah, I mean, my uniform is the athleisure, or sometimes I'm in jeans, a t-shirt, leather jacket. Very chic. With the exception today, I have a hoodie on today because I was getting over a little cold. But I normally I have Remoir suitcase and then a LO bean bag.
Yeah.
That's what I travel. Yeah.
All right.
We're big. And then a little bit you throw in some brands, though. I know you're a Celine guy. You like that.
Yes, I like that. Yes, the eyewear, Celine,
The
Celine
wallet.
sneakers, the wallet. Yes, so how I got fixated on Celine. So when I was in fashion, I used to love this designer, Heidi Slimane, and he was the creative director for Dior. And I loved him when he was at Dior, and then he moved to Celine, and so I just became addicted to everything he was
And
designing
you
for
like a little
Celine.
Goyard too. I know
Yes,
that.
I do. I do. I like a little Goard. Yep.
You like the
And
If
color.
you had,
yeah, and I
for
want to steal all
somebody,
your. I want to steal your mom's Rolex collection too.
you're gonna have to
I
get
wore
in
them matching
line,
today with my
Troy.
off-white, my
Yeah.
glitter off-white
Yeah, you're gonna have to get in
commercial,
line. My last question for you really is, so 2 things. 1, if you were starting over and you were building your wardrobe from the beginning, what is an investment piece that you think is a non-negotiable for a man? And then 2, what is your mantra? Like, when you're period, like, what gets you through? What is that one line that you go back to over and over when you need to remember exactly who the fuck you are?
For a man, it's several pieces, right? So, number one, you need a nice pair of shoes. I mean, non-negotiable. I mean, a really nice pair of lace ups, right? Lace ups. So, a really nice pair of lace ups. And then, as a man, you need a nice watch, and then you need a nice wallet. Those
Okay.
are the 3 things, and everything else is interchangeable, right? You can get a nice pair of slacks, you get a nice pair of jeans,
or even
you know.
jeans. Yeah.
Yeah, and a nice t-shirt, just simple, the basics for men. And
Okay.
you must be fit. You don't want to look tacky. You know, we expect women to look presentable and take care of themselves, but we're on the other side, don't look and take care of ourselves. So those are all non-negotiables.
Okay.
And
I would like to
so,
add a non-negotiable to your list because you do it, but I don't even know. I think it's so like your mom is such a great person, and I know that she taught you all this. But despite the fact that even with the skincare line, but you are impeccably groomed. Your
oh, thank
hands
you.
are always groomed elegantly. You know, your skin is squeaky clean. You look like you just got out of the shower. You always smell good. You
Oh,
know,
thank you.
I think that's really important as well. The hands are very important. A man
Yes.
taking care of their hands.
I agree. You know, it's funny, right? Because I remember years ago, my high school sweetheart, she's the one that got me into getting manicures and pedicures. And she said, if you're going to touch me down there, your hands must be groomed. And I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Okay, I'm motivated. All right. Okay, moving right along. What is your
We need to
what is
give
your
her, like, a round of
mantra?
applause because she's
Yeah.
she's doing God's work. So,
Yeah. Yeah, he's very God
God's
oriented.
work. You
Very
guys
God
are
oriented.
fucking funny, man.
Okay,
alright,
what is your tagline? What is the Troy's having a bad day and you look at yourself in that mirror, the sun mirror. What do you say?
I can do this. Look
Yeah.
where you've come from. You survived murderers, rapers, killers, and you walked out. You can do this. Nothing can attack you. Nothing can hurt you. That is what I tell myself every day. If you survived murderers, rapers, killers, this is easy out here.
yeah, you're on the other side, baby. Well, Troy, thank you so much for joining us. For somebody who is curious to learn more about T363 Skin, we're going to put the link in the description of the episode. And then we're also going to put the demo in the show notes too. So people will be able to
Yes.
find you from there.
Yes,
But thank
I'm on
you.
LinkedIn as well. I'm on
Okay,
LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram, Troy Alexander, so you can find me easily.
perfect.
And I'm so honored to be here. I love you, Jody. Morgan,
Fun.
you're an extension of her, and so I love you too. And
Take
so,
it. Thank you for joining us today for the Caplander podcast. If you loved this episode, share it and make sure to subscribe to Caplander for more conversations like this.